Genocide Joe is speaking right now.
Regime in Syria. This is a direct result of the blows that Ukraine, Israel have delivered upon their own self-defense with unflagging support of the United States. You know, over the past 4 years, my administration pursued a clear and principled policy towards Syria. First, we made clear from the start sanction on Assad would remain in place unless he engaged seriously in a political process to end the civil war, as outlined by the UN Security Council resolution passed in 2015. But Assad refused, so we carried out a comprehensive sanction program against him and all those responsible for atrocities against the Syrian people. Second, we maintained our military presence in Syria.
He's so crypt keeper.
ISIS, to counter the support of local partners as well on the ground, their partners. Never ceded an inch of territory, taking out leaders of ISIS, ensuring that ISIS can never establish a safe haven there again. Third, we've supported Israel's freedom of action against Iranian networks in Syria and against actors aligned with Iran who transported lethal aid to Lebanon. And when necessary, ordered the use of military force against Iranian networks to protect U.S. forces. Our approach has shifted the balance of power in the Middle East. Through this combination of support for our partners, sanctions, diplomacy, and targeted military force when necessary, we now see new opportunities opening up for the people of Syria and for the entire region. Looking ahead, the United States will do the following. First, will support Syria's neighbors, including Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq, and Israel, should any threat arise from Syria during this period of transition. I will speak with leaders of the region in the coming days. I had a long discussion with all of our people earlier this morning. And I'll send senior officials from my administration to the region as
Someone
well.
needs to make a compilation,
Second,
dude, of like every single Biden speech and then title it like compilation to fall asleep to.
we will help ensure stability in eastern Syria, protecting any personnel, our personnel, against any threats, and remain our mission against ISIS will be maintained, including security of detention facilities where ISIS fighters are being held as prisoners. We're clear-eyed about the fact that ISIS will try to take advantage of any vacuum to reestablish its capabilities and to create a safe haven. We will not let that happen. In fact, just today, U.S. forces conducted a dozen of precision strikes, airstrikes, within Syria, targeting ISIS camps and ISIS operatives. Third, we will engage with all Syrian groups, including within the process led by the United Nations, to establish a transition away from the Assad regime.
Oh, that's definitely going to be good. Yes, yes, America helping to establish a regime. Yes, it's going to be so good. Yes.
An independent, I want to say it again, sovereign Syria, with a new constitution, a new government that serves all Syrians. And this process will be determined by the Syrian people themselves. And the United States will do whatever we can to support them, including through humanitarian relief, to help restore Syria after more than a decade of war and generations of brutality by the Assad family. And finally, we will remain vigilant. Make no mistake, some of the rebel groups that took down Assad have their own grim record of terrorism and human rights abuses. We've taken note of statements by the leaders of these rebel groups in recent days, and they're saying the right things now. But as they take on greater responsibility, we will assess not just their words, but their actions. And we are mindful that there are Americans in Syria, including those who reside there, as well as Austin Tice, who was taken captive more than 12 years ago. We remain committed to returning him to his family.
He's mindful and demure. Stop.
As I've said, this
Why is he getting quieter?
Considerable risk and uncertainty. But I also believe this is the best opportunity in generations for Syrians to forge their own future, free of opposition. It's also an opportunity though it's far from certain, for a more secure and prosperous Middle East.
Far from certain, more secure Middle East.
Our friends are safe.
Our friends are safe.
Our enemies are contained. And it would be a waste of this historic opportunity if one tyrant were toppled.
Untoppled.
And only to see a new one rise up in its place.
So
it's now incumbent upon all the opposition groups to seek a role in governing Syria, to demonstrate their commitment to the rights of all Syrians, the rule of law, and the protection of religious and ethnic minorities. These past few days have been historic. And you know,
wake up!
The days ahead,
wake up!
I'm
falling asleep, dude.
This country. We intend to approach them with strength, wisdom, and resolve. So thank you very much. God bless America, and God protect our troops. Thank you.
What should happen to Assad now, Mr. President?
Mr. President, are you concerned about all that war in the Middle East?
What does the U.S. know about where Austin Tice might be and if he's safe?
We believe he's alive. We think we can get him back, but we have no direct evidence of that yet. And Assad should be held accountable.
Have you directed an operation to go get him, Mr. President?
Is Assad in Moscow?
Get him.
Stop! Just go! Stop! Stop! Thank you for the 5 years. Go! Go! Stop turning around! Dude, he is so easy to bait.
Austin Tice.
We want to get him out.
Yes, sir.
We have to identify where he is. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
I knew we were gonna get him out. Dude, he's so fucking old. He's so old, dude. This elder abuse, I know. Commander-in-Chief, by the way, his hair is nuts. Dude, I can't believe, I guess Biden bald would look, it feels weird to think about Biden being bald. But like, his hair is not, it's not with us, dude. It's not with us anymore. What did he even say? Fucking who knows, dude? Who knows? I don't know that he knows what he said. Oh my. Oh my. Oh my. Dude, he looks like one of the Strigoi from Strain. Raw chicken looking ass. Oh, dude. Oh. You know, honestly, I think he's happy to finally step down. I think so, chat. I want to see him do more of the hitting the journalist in the head with the camera. You guys know what I'm talking about? One's if you know what I'm talking about. Two's if you don't know. Like, there's people who haven't seen this. Oh my god. I think he's sick of the job, dude. I think he wants to leave. Biden asked if he thinks he can get a hostage deal done, responds by asking the reporter if she can get hit in the head by a camera.
President Biden, do you think that you can get a hostage deal by the end of your term?
I think you can get hit in the head by a camera behind you. All right. Thank you all. Well, Mr. President.
President Biden, do you think that you can get a hostage deal by the end of your term?
You think you get hit in the head by a camera behind you?
You get hit in the head by a camera behind you.
His intrusive thoughts won, dude. I want more of this shit, dude. I want more of this shit. His brain is mush, so basically he said, fuck you for asking. Correct, yes. Yes. He basically said, fuck you for asking. Okay, I wanted to show... There's, this video from Al Jazeera that I wanted to watch with you guys. One sec. Where did I put it? Here we go.
Celebrations by some in Syria after Bashar al-Assad is toppled, overthrown by opposition forces made up of different factions. There is concern now about what might follow. So, how will Syria be governed, and what impact will it have on the region? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Darine Abougaida. In an offensive as unexpected as it was swift, the Assad government, which ruled Syria for more than 50 years, was brought to an end in just days. Opposition forces swept through major cities with little or no resistance. The big prize, the capital Damascus, fell without a fight, the Syrian army nowhere to be seen. And those who stood against the Assad government at home and abroad are celebrating. But what's to happen next is unknown. Different opposition fighting groups.
And you have to understand that the most recent Assad was wildly unpopular, which is almost certainly a big reason why there was so little of a fight and so little of a pushback against the rebel fighters. Wildly unpopular.
Found unity with the single aim of toppling Assad, but now face the challenges of governing a country and dealing with each other. The strongest, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which split from al-Qaeda, has been designated a terrorist group by the UN, the US, Turkey, and Russia. So, how will Syria be governed? What role will the fighting groups play? And what impact will this have on the region? We'll get to our guest in a moment. First, this report from Katia Lopez-Horayan.
A new chapter in Syria, with people in Damascus and across the country celebrating the end of President Bashar al-Assad's regime. A political dynasty in power for more than half a century seemingly unraveled within days.
We came out to take part in the celebration and celebrate with the world. People were expecting this, the fall of the tyrant. God willing, Syria will come back better than before.
With Assad no longer in the country, the presidential palace, once home to Syria's most powerful man, is now open to everyone.
This is dope, by the way.
People roam around the compound with no government staff in sight. Syria's prime minister addressed the nation
fucking
from his
raiding Assad's complex and taking whatever the fuck you want, dude. That's so sick. It's a hot drop. Hot drop off the battle bus. It's where all the legendary armor is, dude.
home.
There is something very, this is a bit hedonistic of me, but there's something very satisfying about watching a palace get raided. All right. I have to admit, that's like, something about it just warms my heart. I just see like average people like fucking yoinking like Louis Vuitton bags from a fucking palace. Feels good, man.
We are extending our hands even to the opposition, who extend their hands and gave assurances they will not cause any harm to any citizens.
Several opposition groups with different leaders, interests, and backers were involved in the surprisingly quick offensive. Now many are questioning.
I think it's the opposite of hedonistic. It's like primal class consciousness rising.
New divisions will emerge within this group of fighters who've taken Damascus.
The Syrian army really just melted. There was no money in Damascus to pay troops. People were exhausted. There had not been a peace dividend. Nobody could rebuild their lives. Life looked very grim under this regime going out into the future.
Syrians living in neighboring Turkey, many of them pushed out by Syria's war, celebrated Assad's fall. About 12 million people were displaced in more than a decade of fighting between opposition groups and government forces, with hundreds of thousands killed. Many say the fall of Assad will help heal the scars of war.
This is the happiest day of my life. We are reborn. On this day we rejoice with God's victory.
The internal situation in Syria is still disorganized. Will there truly be security and safety? This phase requires, at the very least, 6 months to a year for any Syrian considering going back.
For years, military support from Russia and Iran helped keep Assad in power. But the wars in Ukraine, Gaza, and Lebanon shifted the attention of both Moscow and Tehran. As celebrations continue for those who oppose...
I can't get over how long fucking Assad is and how much of a manlet he makes Putin look like. Assad looks like you stretched him like a Laffy Taffy and he makes Putin look... He makes him look like such a manlet.
Help keep Assad in power. But the wars in Ukraine, Gaza,
and
Lebanon shifted the attention of both Moscow and Tehran. As celebrations continue for those who opposed Assad, for others there will be worry about what will follow. A range of groups with different aims shared a mission of toppling the regime. Now many in and out of Syria are waiting to see what's next. Katia Lopez-Odoyan, Al Jazeera for Inside Story.
Okay, let's take a look now at how things unfolded in Syria. So as we mentioned, opposition forces led a lightning offensive, taking over regions in the north, including the economic capital of Aleppo, Hama, and then reaching the city of Homs. In the south, local groups took control of the city of Daraa. But the moment the government was toppled was when the capital, Damascus, fell rapidly and without resistance. Countries across the region will now be monitoring developments closely, each with their own interests in what happens next. We'll now bring in our guest. Joining us from Doha is Ibrahim Alabi, who's a barrister and board member of the Syrian-British Consortium. He's researched and advised extensively on international legal cases related to the conflict in Syria. In London, Haid is a columnist and academic who's also a consulting fellow at the Chatham House think tank. And also here in Doha, Professor Hind Kabawat, who's a director of interfaith peacebuilding for world religions, diplomacy, and conflict resolution at the Carter School for Peace and Conflict Resolution, George Mason University. Welcome to you all. Thanks for your time. Hind, I'll start with you. What will this transition period look like?
Brothers and sisters in Syria, this is a very, very special day. This is the day we get rid of dictators. So I just want to share my happiness, my emotion. This is a great day. Transitions. Today, we're celebrating, but tomorrow we're going to start the hard work. Hard work to have a Syria, inclusive Syria, a Syria without sectarianism, Syria with diversity, Syria, democratic Syria. So I can see the young generation are in the streets celebrating, but we know that we have lots of work lying ahead, and we're going to be working together to build our Syria.
It's now that the capital, Damascus, has obviously fallen. Are you any clearer on the opposition group's intention going forward, or will it be weeks or months where the reality of the nature and the intentions of these groups will be clearer then?
I think if you look at the statements shared by those groups, they are sort of all in agreement that they want a joint transitioning body to control the country, at least for the short period coming before elections are able to be held there. However, there are many challenges as to who can participate in forming this transitioning body. If you look at, for example, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, although the group and its leader, Abu Muhammad al-Jurani, has been saying that I'm willing to engage and I've changed, the international community as well as regional actors have been skeptical about the real intentions and the change that the group has been trying to project. Now, the real question is, to what extent will regional as well as local actors in Syria be willing to test the genuinity of the statements made by the group? And I think the question to that will then determine, at least in part, what might come next.
Okay, Ibrahim, how much support do these opposition groups do they have internally in Syria?
So I think the first part of this question is, what sort of support did the regime have in that sense? So if we flip the question, and start with the regime. So we have seen in areas that the opposition have come in quite in smooth control, right? No civil resistance, no people picking up the arms and fighting, including in a lot of areas that were fully loyal to the regime and had, combatants fighting for the regime. Areas in the suburbs of Hama, and the suburbs of Homs and so on. So the first thing to note is that the regime has tortured its own people, gassed its own people, and forced to disappear its own people, starved its own people, has kind of lost also popular legitimacy. Of course, part of the issue of living in an autocratic government is that you cannot measure in a way which party has more votes, but you can also kind of see what's happening on the ground. Whether a lot of the people are supportive of the opposition and the different factions that are there. We have seen celebrations that they were reunited with their family members, that the prisons are freed. So obviously there is some support, but I think there is also some fears as to what comes next. We have seen and heard reassurances, but we've also seen for the past 10 days and actually a delivery on most of these reassurances so far, and I note so far.
On the point that Haid was just making a moment ago, past comments made by al-Jolani, one of which was back in 2014, he had said that Christians and Alawites would not be accommodated in any Syria. I mean, is there any reason to believe that that view has changed, even though you say that publicly he is making other statements, but do you really believe that view has changed?
I mean, personal belief is very, very subjective, but let's look at the legacy of so far since those statements. So we've seen that he has made those statements in, as you said, in 2014 and 2015, but then he has been trying to interact with also some of the minority groups in Idlib long before this offensive. He used to reject the revolution flag or the Free Syria flag, which I'm wearing today, but then he changed that. So there's actually been a period of, I would say, at least a transformation, at least in part, for some time. So these reassurances did not start 3-4 days ago in terms of public rhetoric. But that said, we're still aware of the legacy that you mentioned. We're aware of what happened prior to 2014. We are aware of a lot of groups that suffered and a lot of people that suffered at the hands of Jolani. But, to comment on the last 10 days, so far, so good in terms of reassurances. Would that stay? We don't know.
Okay.
And that's what we'll be very carefully interacting with and very carefully dealing with and in the period to come.
Okay, let's bring in Hind once again. I mean, you spoke of the importance of inclusivity, Hind, and that's what you're hoping for going forward. But what are the next steps that need to be taken to ensure that there's a new administration and one which ensures inclusivity?
Yeah. First, I just want to add of what my colleague Brahim said about outreach to the minority. This morning I was speaking with my church, the Orthodox Church in Syria, and the transition, and there have been...
Maybe you said it already, but Israel wanted this? Yes. I mean, Israel benefits from any power vacuum in the Middle East. It's just unfortunate that the people who have to live in Syria have to live in the sad reality where their country happens to be right next to Israel. So they don't get to have they don't get to watch their country become better without intervention. I saw a clip earlier of people freeing young girls from a prison cell. I didn't know Assad regime was doing that. What the fuck? It's not good. It's not good. There is a reason there are a lot of Syrian refugees. There's a reason there are a lot of Syrian refugees. And it's because the regime is not good.
The operation there, and they've been very moderate and very understanding. They didn't get to the village. They've been treating the Christian in a very respectful way. Also in Aleppo, my relatives, my friends, the Armenian community, the Christian community. So I know in the past, we're careful, we're not 100% sure what will happen, but so far for the last few days, my Christian community, they've been in a good shape. There is no violation in any kind. As a matter of fact, they've been distributing breads and knocking doors and seeing if they need anything. So this is where we're going to stop here. But also, I have to say that in Idlib, for the Christian community in the past, yes, the HTS outreach to them, they try to get back to their land, to get them back their land, etc. So this is a very good, positive steps. What we should do now, we shouldn't just relax.
My cousin's girlfriend tells me that as it stands, HTS and the other groups don't really have the political or military power to easily consolidate a new state. However, apparently most of the opposition groups seem to be interested in working together to create an anti-imperial bulwark. Oh, can you turn on captions? Yes. Sorry, I didn't have captions on. Yeah. Underground prison complex behind red doors insane. Have you seen that? Can you post the link?
We need to keep
also, yeah, Assad literally used chemical weapons on the Syrians.
Watching, keep observing, helping, and we want our civil society to be strong on the ground, to keep doing the great initiative they're doing. The last things we want now in Syria to have a sectarian war. And this doesn't look like people of Syria. They are really being united today.
Hayed, in
this
terms
is something I can tell you I'm a little bit comfortable.
Okay, Hayed, we heard an appeal made by the Special Envoy for Syria, Garrett Peterson, who said that appealing for law and order to be maintained as well as the preservation of public institutions. Are you confident that these opposition groups on the ground can do that? And how critical at this moment, Hayed, is the preservation of public institutions?
Sure, but just before answering that question, I just want to comment on something my fellow Syrian speakers have mentioned. I think there is a difference between giving assurances and protecting minorities, which true, Al-Julani and HTS did not only do over the past 10 days, but they had a similar sort of approach to minorities in Idlib, especially with a Druze community there. But there is a difference between not attacking or violating the rights of minorities and allowing people to participate in governing their areas and having a say over who does what in their respective communities and areas. And this is the aspect that Al-Julani and HTS has not been able to really deliver on, despite the pro sort of power sharing sort of narrative and discourse the group has been saying, not only over the past 10 days, but over the past few years in the areas that were controlled in northwestern Syria. So I think for a real sort of shot at a genuine transition that will lead to a democratic.
I live in a building with 9 Syrian refugee families. They've all been celebrating all day despite the also terrible news. It's nice for once to have some good news. Yes. Mostly like the stuff that I've read about that's been pretty horrendous has been the treatment of prisoners, which has been like America treats their prisoners inhumanely. Assad was much worse. Much, much, much worse. Prisoners from Sydney being freed.
يلا النسوان طلعوا لا تخافوا عمي لا تخافوا لا تخافوا سوار انتوا بوان طلعوا سوار يا اخي سوار هاتوا شوي انتوا من وين انتوا من وين طلعوا تعالوا يلا سيروا بعد شوي يلا دقيقة لا تخافوا عمي لا تخافوا لا تخافي اختي لا تخافي بعد كبروا يلا عمي الشعب صارت لنا روحوا وين ما بدكم الله اكبر كبروا يا الله ليك الولد يا حرام ليك الولد يا حرام انت منين عمي شو بدك اغراضك امانات يا اختي هلا بس امانات منين عمي هلا بطلع لك اياهم روحي هلا طيب تاخذيهم معي طلعوا الحمد لله على السلامه طلعوا روحوا الحمد لله على السلامه طلعوا وين بدكم تروحوا الاثنين اطلعي روحي داريه ما في حدا يلا رح نطالع لك يا سلطان هون شهاد يلا رح نطلع شو بدك لك روحي يا عمي ما بدك.
What is this? What is happening? I just joined. This is the prisons in Syria. They're freeing the prisoners from the regime. Prisons holding literal children and women. I mean, they're holding them in like fucking pens, like that many people in one fucking cell.
The situation. Why did IDF invade?
Israel and Israel benefits from any power vacuum that appears. And Israel has wanted the opportunity to take valuable territory, and they see this as an opportunity to do it because they want greater Israel. It's the same reason that they want to completely destroy all of Gaza so that they can take it. So you guys can get an idea of some of the stuff that they're saying in this video. He's just saying like, go, you guys are free to go. Like when he was opening the door, he was like saying like, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Like we're trying to get you out. Yeah.
هلا هطلع لكم اياهم رح طلع لكم اياهم لك روحي يا خالتي انا بدي على الامانات روحي يا خالتي روحي لك روحي يا عمي روحي يا عمي
Rohi is like go. So they're just saying like he's just saying like go brothers, go sisters, go aunties.
لك لا تخافي ليش خايفه لك راح بشار الاسد سقط ليش خايفه سقط راح ما ضلش بالشار سقط بطل دولة بدنا نطلع العالم يا انا بحافظ مش عندي روح ما في شيء اطلعي لبرا روحي هلا اطلعي لبرا حدا ينزل معي لهون يا شباب انا نازل معكم
Sorry. Clicked on a different video.
برا من هون دلنا على الطريق
هوياتنا مش
يا عمي والله ما بدك هوية روحي الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر كبروا الله أكبر.
Thanks. I didn't know if it would be rude to ask you to translate. I didn't know if it was Arabic or not. It's Arabic. I don't know what kebru is because it's Syrian. I don't speak the Syrian dialect. So I think that's the only term that he said recently that I don't know what it translates to.
طلعت لك
Okay, but it just means praise Allah. Oh, I've never seen it used that way, or I've never seen that used.
لك النسوان طلعناهم يلا طلعوا وين هذا
There's another video from the same prison here, I think. Hundreds of political prisoners were released from Sidnaya prison, specifically from the secret red prison near Damascus. Look at them, they're all very frail, very thin, and they have hardship to walk. As a Turkish leftist, I doubt that ex-Al-Qaeda militants will form a better government than Assad in terms of regional and local progression. Either way, there will be bigger clashes with... Yeah, I mean, yes, there was a... Oh, man, why did I close the... Why did I close the tweet? Did I at least like it or something? There was a tweet that someone posted about the conflict, basically saying that from a Syrian perspective, talking to non-Syrians, that you can be concerned about the future of your country and also be happy that this cruel regime is over. Reopen close tab by right-clicking it. Yeah, but I just closed like 50 tabs, so I'd have to Control-Shift-T like 50 times. And I don't know which one it is. Dom, thank you for the 26 months. Thanks. We used to drive by that prison as a child. I always felt pure dread. Was it this one? Yes, thank you. I will actually save it this time. Syrians have the right to celebrate the fall of the House of Assad without being lectured by non-Syrians about the reality of the future. Maybe some of you need a reminder, but Assad wasn't just your run-of-the-mill dictator. Not only did he run a police state of a frightening degree, he also burned down his country to stay in power, destroying entire cities, killing hundreds of thousands of Syrians to keep his regime in place. Let people who have had family members murdered, tortured, and imprisoned by the state have a moment of relief and celebration. Doesn't mean that they're naive about Syria's future. You can recognize that the country is located in a region that is almost bound to be destabilized. And also be happy that a dictator is finally not in power anymore. He said 5 years and I haven't seen, I think, my brother. At least once a stream, someone is shocked to learn that Denims is Arab. Yeah, I'm hiding. I'm a secret Arab. No one will know. She's really just tan. I see that. I feel very deeply as a Turkish citizen my whole life. All we can do is hope that we can change this regime for the better before they further roots into the all over the country like Assad and Erdogan. Yeah. Mickey Knox, thank you for the prime. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, like, I want to believe that something good will come out of this. I want to believe that the next regime, at the very least, will be slightly better. There's so many people, yeah. I mean, like, at what point... Sorry, when you're at the point where you have children inside of your prison... What does your country come to? The story of the child that you saw in that prison cell, the one you went to visit to entertain. The child had no idea what the word freedom even meant. This guy says, I was being detained at the military interrogation branch. One of the guards there had 2 brothers that were imprisoned. One time he came to me and asked me for my real name. I told him my name. Sorry, the subtitles went a little fast. I told him my name even though it was forbidden. We would get beaten sometimes for that. They'd trick us into saying our real names and then they would beat us.
What has your country come to if children are in prison? The United States. It has become the United States.
Yup. I mean, at least the United States, we have like you literally can't prosecute children, right? You can prosecute minors, but their record is wiped. And you're really only getting major prosecutions as a minor if you're committing like murder. Unless you're a child on our border. Unless you had the audacity to be Central or South American and wanting to come to and your parents wanting to come to the United States. And then it's different. Or sexual assault. Yeah, it's like, I think it's like murder and rape are like the 2 exceptions that you will get tried heavily even as a minor, and everything else basically as a minor you get a very, very light punishment and then it gets wiped from your record, or I think it gets sealed rather, which like murder, rape, and immigration, these are all the same, obviously. Smile. Anyways, if you were asked your real name, you were supposed to respond with your cell number. So I asked him, is my safety guaranteed? He said yes. So I told him I was so-and-so. He asked, are you really him? And I said, yeah. He said that all the guards were told I was an Israeli spy and that it was forbidden to speak with me. Again, he asked me if I was Michael Kilo, and I said, again, yes. He said, you and the prisoner in the cell next door are the bravest men in the world. We couldn't get a thing out of you.
شجعان بالعالم ما قدرنا ناخذ منكم شيء. قلت له مين اللي بالطرف الثاني؟ قال لي رياض الترك. كنا انا وياه بكوريدور.
He told me it was Ria al-Turk, veteran Syrian dissident. We were in the same hallway together. A couple days later, he came by with a nail clipper and he cut my nails. He warned me not to make a sound. If they found out he did this, he would be thrown in Tadmur prison for 3 years. After that, every now and again, he would throw an apple into my cell. Eventually, he came by my cell around 3 or 3:20 a.m. I had no watch, obviously, but I asked about the time. He said, "Come with me, but don't make a sound." We all but sneaked into a cell 40 meters away, the guard and I. He opened the door and said, "Go inside the cell and tell that boy a story. You're a cultured man. Tell him a story." When I entered the cell, I saw that there was a woman inside. She was maybe 26 or 27 years old. She curled up into a ball when she saw me enter. She was so scared. She had every right to be scared, of course. She had bitter experiences with men. She was pregnant while they arrested her, and she gave birth when she was inside of the cell. I saw a child, 4 or 5 years old. He was dark, cute, small. His face was swollen, maybe because he just never seen the sun. I said hello to her. Sorry. I said hello to her, but she didn't answer. She was too afraid. So I said, "My daughter." She actually did resemble my daughter. Shaza was the same age. I told her, "I've been asked to tell your son a story. What should I tell him?" She stammered a bit. She got embarrassed, and in the end, she didn't really answer me. So I sat down and started to tell him. So there was this bird. And the boy asked me, "What's a bird?" I was telling a story to a boy, and it never even occurred to me that he wouldn't know what these words meant. Words like bird, mouse, river, the sun, a butterfly. I thought these were the kind of words I could use with him. So he asked me, "What's a bird?" How could I explain to him what a bird is? Anyways, I started to say that the bird was flying above a tree, and he asked me, "What's a tree?" I began to sense the trouble. I started to understand what this guard was talking about. I don't want to say his name because he might still be in the security forces. He'd said, "Aren't you educated? Can't you tell him a story?" He was daring me to tell him a story. And here I was, having no idea how to do that, so I began to sing him a song. That's how absurd it was. So I sung to him Rima al-Hamdana, and then Mama, her time's a comin', simple nursery songs like that. After bed, I knocked on the cell door. My eyes were filled with tears. The mother was still sitting on the side, still anxious and afraid. I knocked on the door, and after the moment the guard came back to me, I told him, "Get me out of here, for God's sake, I'm going to suffocate." He asked, "Did you tell him a story or not?" I told him, "What kind of story am I supposed to tell him?" I asked him, "Has this boy even ever stepped out of the cell?" He said, "The guard told me no, never." He doesn't know what a bird is, or a ball, or a tree, what the sun is, the wind. He doesn't know anything. Then I asked the guard about the boy's mother. He told me she was jailed as a hostage after her father fled to Amman. She was pregnant at the time, and as you can see, she gave birth here in prison. And this is a post from, I don't know how long ago this interview was. From the quality, it looks like it was at least a decade old. The link to the original video is here. Yeah, 11 years old. Okay. That's about right. So here's the Here's the link to the original interview if you'd like to see it. And this post is obviously from this morning saying, if you're to watch one thing about the Assad regime, make it this 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Note that the rebels found this little kid in the same prison that he's talking about. Like, this is what people are talking about when they say that, yes, the future is uncertain for these people. And yes, it is likely that after a revolution or after rebel leaders kick the head of state, you end up with fundamentalist religious freaks. But you cannot strip the Syrian people away from their joy that they no longer at least have to live under this. I think that the Syrian people are allowed to celebrate this victory, that they're allowed to be happy about something. And I would like to think that after overthrowing a state, if the next state isn't very good, people are at least emboldened into wanting to do it again. That once you realize that change is possible and that the people that sit at the head of your countries can be removed, that I would like to hope that if and when religious fundamentalists take power, that they would also be held accountable for ideally the betterment of everyone in society, or at the very least in Syrian society, excuse me. I just wish that they can maintain their autonomy, not get annexed by Israel and Turkey. Yeah. If anyone wants a fairly in-depth look at Assad, there's a Behind the Bastards series on him. It's grim, but it's very illustrative of what kind of monster that he was. Yes.